Hello, welcome to this video. Thank you so much for tuning in, sharing this now moment with myself and with one another. If you haven't seen these videos before, welcome back. If you have, my intention is unity and oneness. I want to just go into a little flow with the guides and just see what's coming through that might be helpful for all of us. Anybody listening, tuning in. So thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for liking and sharing these videos. Thank you for everybody who's been on this journey with me for years. Let's play. So some of this is meant to be felt, not necessarily understood on a linear basis. And our concept of linearity is shifting, and AI is helping us with this. It is helping us grow in some ways, and in other ways it is helping us grow apart. We are inviting everybody to tune in to your heart, to allow yourself to find your own resonance, your own sound. And do this more and more often before you tune into the sounds of other people's opinions, thought patterns, and cyclical rehabilitation, rehabituation. I'm seeing like things that are being repeated, repetitive patterns. For our reality is not set in stone. And there are those who are coming from the Stone Ages, so to speak, about their opinions, about their belief systems. And it's not to say that they are wrong or that they have not awakened or that they are uneducated in the vicinity of the future and what holds true for the future. For people are in multidimensional realities, so to speak. And so the future that one may see, others may not. In fact, they may never see that future, for their trajectory is on a path in a different direction. For example, if you are in an area where the internet does not exist, you are living in the Amazonian jungles or rainforests, or you are in, let us say, the countryside in the mountains, and you have no connection to the resources of electricity and such. The future will look very different for you. The stories in which you are tuning into will have a different sound. In fact, many of the stories will not even exist for you you are creating from a reality that is existent upon your own existence, and what it is you are creating without all of those, I'm hearing outside noises. Yet that is not the case for many of us, and that is not the case for many of us moving forward. And in fact, we would venture to say, if you are watching or listening to this particular sharing of video through sound and technology, you are not one of those individuals who are unplugging from the network of artificial intelligence, social media, the internet, so on and so forth. We are sharing this message because we are inviting all to recognize their own patterns and their own distortional communication and ideas about what the future should or should not look like. For as we tout or yell from the treetops or the mountaintops what our beliefs are, we are being invited to go back within and ask ourselves, I ask myself, where is this originating from? And is this my true truth? For as I tout what is true, if I am not actually following through in that particular alignment, then I am not in alignment with my own truth, so to speak. And therefore, how is it, I'm being shown, like, then how is it moving forward right to say you should or not do this is bad or good? Because what I'm being shown is people are plugging into things while they're simultaneously saying don't plug into that. And by the way, what I'm being shown is this isn't about art. This whole message isn't about artificial intelligence. It's about everything. What is it that we are saying is bad or good, or you shouldn't or should or should not do, but we're being asked to reflect back on ourselves and say, well, where am I using that? Where am I behaving in that way? And is that something that I'm hearing, is that something that's here to stay? Or is it something that's only relevant for now? Boy, there's lots to play with this. We play with this because there is a movement that is happening. And this movement in the collective appears to be moving in one way. And yet it is a kaleidoscope, if you will, of many different triangulations, colors, bands of light and information that is coming together and weaving in a beautiful and perpetual way, so to speak. We would invite everyone to play in this new schematic in a different way. For if we are moving forward and saying one thing and speaking about the future, when we are beholden or laden down, I'm being shown a rock, like again, the Stone Age kind of thing, to the past, stories, belief systems, and teachings that were very relevant for the past. We are carrying with us rocks, we can say, that are not necessarily utilized in the same way for the future. Some of these teachings and baselines can be very helpful and useful for stabilizing, grounding, and reorganizing how we exchange and interact with the future. Yet there will become a time or a point in time stretching forward where we are being invited to stretch our imagination and to reach forward, who plays on words here, reach towards something that is beyond that which we have reached in the past. Therefore, we cannot fully compare and contrast what reality should or should not look like based on the past. So we would invite you to play with this wording for a bit and to recognize that each of us comes with baggage. Each of us comes with a belief system and structure based on what we have read, what we have learned, what we have heard, how we have perceived our reality, and all of the energy that we come to the table with. Yet we would invite you to fine tune all of that and to find a different tune that is more conducive, that is more coherent than that which we have tied or bound ourselves to in a previous lineage, in a previous lifetime, in a previous timeline, in a previous reality structure. For the reality structure is blending and merging at such a quantum speed and always at a quantum scale that it is difficult to control or to pass a judgment upon or to counter. I'm seeing scales of like true, not true, balance, imbalance, black, white, all of it. For every time we think based on an old program, we've already moved past it from another perspective, meaning it is difficult to fully be objective when much of what we are seeing is subjective, and this is a play on words. I don't know why, I'm seeing if I should play with this a little bit. I'm just going to stay in flow. So while we are going through this massive shift in our awareness, in our reality, in how it is that we interact with reality and therefore interact with ourselves, our fellow brothers and sisters, our fellow systems, we are being invited to step away from this idea that we are locked into a particular system. Whatever that system may be, whether it be good or bad, or a system of control or a system of manipulation, or how we should or should not see the system of manipulation, how we should perceive what it is that we are interacting with, and what we are choosing to co-create in the future. For all of it is unraveling from one perspective, instant to instant. Ish ukuahe ne makai ish ikaene ke waha ish ikuaha inini kik amahash inini kik waha ine ish ikuahan akanaha. Wahe shiniki kai ia o awakuni aku shinini kai me o kuaha nini kuahashi. For sound is changing because we are changing how we speak, listen, and the fluency, play on words, with how it is we communicate. So we are being invited to communicate at a different angulation. Yet many of us are held in compatibility, play on words. So I'm being shown many of us are not compatible because there's this, like, I'm hearing trifurcation happening. So it's almost like I'd been shown, I was saying a few weeks back, I feel like I'm in between two converging rivers. For me, it's like four converging rivers. And I'm holding this space with just this flood of energy coming from four different directions. And for me, I can feel multiple dimensions. Well, many of us can. We don't necessarily recognize that that's what we're feeling. But as I'm feeling into this, it's difficult to locate. What I'm hearing is our center, but also feel into the location of what is being dislocated. Oh boy, this is a big plan word. So let me see if I can play with this a little bit more, because even as I'm sharing this communication with you, I can see all these different trajectories of where this is going. We're talking about AI. We're talking about a lot of the, I'm hearing arguments that are unfolding online. I'm just being shown like, no, this is the right way. No, this is the wrong way. No, you're not right. No, you're wrong. No, here's why I'm right. Okay, here's why I was wrong, but now I'm right. And it's changing so quickly that, can we stand inside of that river and see all of the different corners of the earth and recognize that each corner comes with its own history, with its own traditions? And that's from another perspective. And we can uphold our own tradition without coming in and deleting other people's traditions because they're not in alignment with our tradition, under the guise of saying this is the alignment with the new age. Because what they're showing me is we don't know what we don't know. But many of us think we're experts, or we follow a guru, or we feel like, I'm hearing, we feel let down because we've been following the guidance of someone and then we find out that they are misled themselves. And I keep hearing this over and over again, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. I've read so many books. When I first, this is a personal, kind of just a little personal excerpt, and I struggle with this also. I went through a period of time where I was following certain teachers, not as they were my guru, but I really felt like what they shared with me was really resonant with where I was going, with what I had gone through, and I could really hone in on their soul signature. But then they would do something or say something that would be completely out of left field, that was not something I agreed with, or a book I would read and I would get, I'm getting goosebumps on this, so this is really relevant right now. I would glean all of this beautiful information from a particular guru, we'll say, teacher, enlightened one, and I would have all of these ahas. And then I would find out later that they were, I'll give an example like theosophical teachings, or I shouldn't name names. We could say any of these wonderful teachers over the years, everything that they shared or taught, especially if they were, well, I was going to say, especially if they were in human form. The irony is, it doesn't matter if they were in human form or not. Let's say they were Arcturian. Let's say I was listening to channelings from a being who's never had a human form, but they've all been channeled through a human. If we've read any book, it was written by a human, which means there's always going to be a layer of humanity in that frequency or filter or perspective, even though the channel or the writer says, I'm just allowing all of it to come through and I'm dropping out and I'm going into complete neutrality. From my perspective as a channeler, it's almost impossible to be completely neutral because that's just not what happens as a human. Maybe aside from the fact if we were under hypnosis potentially, then that's a whole other story because we're still dropping into a field that has an attachment, an entanglement, a stream that is connected to a lifetime of somewhat of a human experience. I don't know how to explain it fully. I hope you guys are following what I'm putting down. Bottom line is, or that we're in this time where we have to be our own, not only teachers, but our own facilitators of the truth that is for us, and recognizing that's our individual choice. So we can take something from whatever it might be and apply it and share what we've learned from it. But even as I share what I've learned, that doesn't mean it's always going to be applicable for everyone listening. Even if I feel strongly that the information I'm getting is directly from source, God, whatever you want to call it, it's from Archangel so-and-so. It can be a beautiful message. However, it may not apply to everyone. And this is what the guides, the archangels, my higher self, source frequency is trying to express. We're a kaleidoscope and we are essentially colliding right now. Everything is colliding together. And what I'm being played, that we're playing with the words right now, in order to avoid a collision, allowing ourselves to soften during this energetic influx and outflow will keep us from getting locked into an old program or an old paradigm under the guise of the new. Because I'm seeing this happen a lot. I see it in my own world. I recognize it, and they're patterns that are so embedded within the architecture of how we operate as a human that oftentimes we miss them. And I'm seeing this on both sides. And I'm hearing it's all about perspective. Can we hold a perspective? This is what the guide said in the last video. And not fall into, I'm hearing the entrapment and I'm hearing estrangement. Like, whew, there's a lot to play with here. So we are playing with this now in this form of communication. And we are all under a stage right now of in a stage of an adaptation. We are adapting to these old and new principles converging and coalescing and falling together and falling apart. And it is a difficult and confusing time for many. And all of this is infused with light, dark, spice, and sweetness, I'm just seeing like it's got everything in it. Excuse me. Okay, let me get back into flow. I had a call. So I'm seeing a couple things here in the field, and well, I'm seeing a lot of things. And I think I was talking about this earlier about the four corners and all of that. And essentially, well, let me just go back into flow. So we will end on this note, so to speak, on this particular note, this particular frequency, this particular stream of communication, this particular chain or organization or flow of energy. And that's the point. I'm seeing a period, direction, an arrow. We would invite you to always come back into that center, that period, that end point and beginning point in the center of your own humanity, of your own center of organization and currency of energy. Allow yourself to feel into the fluidity of your own divinity before getting pulled into the correction points that other people are choosing to weave, and that's a play on words. The other directional flows and currencies of energies that other people are choosing to not only create, but to adhere to. For in this adheration, play on words, I'm seeing adoration, adheration, listening to, oh boy, that's a big play on words. I'm seeing literally the word adoration, so let me play with that. And I'm also seeing like to adhere to something, but I'm here seeing an ad. Like when we listen to an ad and we're like, oh, I need to purchase that because it's something that I need. And we'll play with that for just a moment. I'm being called to look it up. So this is fun. I've never looked this word up really. So to adhere is to stick. And I'm hearing stuck on you. Okay, so to stick, cling to, okay? To cleave to a leader, cause, or party. They talk about it being used a lot in that sense. But what's interesting is the word that it's connected to, the links are hesitation, irresolution, uncertainty. To adhere or hesitate, to delay, to be slow. Interesting. Oh boy, I can see where they're going with this. Add, so anything you put an add in front of something, it's a word forming element expressing direction toward, in space or time, with regard in relation to. So I know it's in front of, AD is in front of a lot of things, but what I'm being shown is adhere to something is to actually, it can slow us down. What are we clinging to in our community, in our reality, in our belief structures? And can we find more fluidity and listen within rather than keep looking for someone or something to cling to follow? Now, again, we still can find value in the resources that someone else is providing, in the messages that are coming through. We can utilize that frequency note or sound that they are singing, I'm seeing a canary, to bring us into a state of resonance. And equally, we can utilize them as a resource to show us what is not in resonance, what is not in harmony. Sometimes, though, what we're tuning into is actually a reflection of our own distortions. So sometimes we get proof or we get validation. Oh, I knew that was true because they said it was, and I agree with them. So what I was shown earlier is that we have a following, right? There's a group of people who follow a leader, and then everybody follows that leader. Let's say it's a collective, and we have, let's say, 5 different collectives of beings that all follow this particular leader. And then that leader changes their focus slightly, and you have a group, and I'm hearing fallout, where they're like, well, wait a minute, you said, now you're saying. Now that's always something to pay attention to, because things do change. Sometimes people make decisions based on their own false identification or ego or whatever it might be. But are we responding to that out of a reflection of our own ego or our own distortions? I have had moments where I get everything feeds back to me and I'm like, whoa, it's a reflection of my own ego, my own imbalances, my own belief systems. Why do I need to cling so badly to what I believe? Now I can already hear the collective. Belief is everything. I believe, so therefore I am. Okay, that's a whole other video. The easy version of this is just what the guides are sharing is we can feel without hesitation when we're not clinging to something that is beyond that innate love, bliss, joy, acceptance. It doesn't mean that on a human level we're going to agree with everything or that we're not going to have disagreements. The guides are saying always come back to ourselves. When we go into a state of inner reverence, we also come into a place of reverence for our fellow humans. And we start to see things for what they really are. And simultaneously, the ego or the shadow or the judgments or the structure that we're viewing through begins to soften the lens. So we can perceive both. We can weave and see, okay, I see the good and I see what they're saying, yet simultaneously I feel the inner pull in my heart that tells me they're not operating from a place of truth, or they are operating from a place of distortion, or they're going through something right now and this is just their way of expressing it. That doesn't mean I have to stand on a soapbox and tell everybody about that. We can do it from a place of organized reflection is what I'm hearing. And I'll dive into that briefly and then I'm going to end on this note. We can stand strong from within our own center and begin to allow other people to come into their own sense of being. We do not have to take ownership over that person, that guru, that story, that history. We do not have to guide someone else's ship. For if we all focused on our own innate connection to our inner source of reverence, well-being, energetic coherence, we would feel the beauty in the ocean of energy that we are all swimming in. And we would begin to create from a new harmonic that would, I'm hearing the word disassociate. So I'm being called to play with that. Ooh, I'm hearing disassociate from fate. We begin to then create rather than be locked into a particular path that has been preordained by someone else or preordained by someone that we once were, or preordained from a particular confluence of an organization that has that we have outgrown from one perspective. And so I'm hearing like we've flown the coop, we've flown the nest. So there is something about this state of transition that we are witnessing, that we are interacting within. And what they're basically showing is, ooh, I think my we were just talking about this reaction, not creating. Does Joe Dispenza? My friend Kat was talking about this the other day. talks about this, I think, creating from a state of, and by the way, that's a perfect example. Just because I'm using his name as an example of something has wonderful teachings, not everybody is a big Joe Dispenza fan, and that's okay. I'm not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I'm taking what has helped me from his teachings. So that's a whole other video too, I think. And that's kind of what a wrap up of what the guides are speaking about. So it's like we're creating from this, from seeing, from feeling, and being like, wow, that's interesting. Let me take that and merge it with this and clear out this other track that might be holding me back, that might be keeping me locked into a particular pattern, that might be keeping me from seeing the new patterns that are, ooh, I'm getting goosebumps, that are constantly flowing around me, that are keeping me from looking at more of what I have available to me rather than looking at someone else's mistakes or looking at what someone else's belief system is. How do I feel? What do I want to co-create? And we might find ourselves taking a step back and moving in a completely different direction, reorganizing, and then looking back on what we've been a part of, and then combine it. Or maybe never co-create with it again in the same way, which means there may be people, places, things, groups that we never connect with again because our realities have shifted so strongly in a fluid and positive way that it's just that it's, I'm hearing that it's okay. It's okay. We can move on and they can stay where they are. And rather than looking back and saying, well, I've grown more than they have, recognizing that as a pattern of judgment, of hierarchy, of ego, right? Isn't that interesting? This is just fun to play with you guys. I could go on and on and on about this because I think this is such a huge topic right now. And this is why the guides keep bringing it up again and again. So we'll keep playing with this in the future. In love and light, guys, I hope this was helpful for someone. Namaste. Thank you for sharing and liking these videos too. I appreciate you. In love and light.